Pause before you keep scrolling. If you or a person you care about receives Social Security, SSI, or SSDI, what I am about to share with you over the next few minutes could seriously affect your financial situation in 2026. Congress recently passed something major, and the major news outlets, they barely covered it. They skimmed past the details that matter most to the more than 70 million Americans who rely on these programs every single month to cover their bills, purchase groceries, and keep the power running. I am talking about actual changes, actual money, and actual deadlines that you cannot afford to overlook. Whether you are a retiree receiving Social Security, a disabled American on SSDI, a low-income senior getting SSI, or someone who has been waiting and waiting for help in the form of a direct payment, this new law affects all of it. And if you do not understand what changed, what you may now qualify for, and what actions you need to take, there is a very real possibility that money intended for you may never make it into your hands. This is not gossip. This is not sensationalism. This is Congress formally approving legislation that affects your benefits, your payments, and your financial stability beginning right now in 2026. I have explained everything in plain, simple English. No legal terms, no confusing government wording, just the real information you need. Describe the way a trusted friend would describe it. We are going to go over exactly what changed, exactly who may qualify, exactly how much money we are discussing, and exactly what you need to do before the deadlines arrive. If you are glad someone is finally helping seniors understand the facts about their money, hit that like button right now and let's go through it together. Now that you know this matters, let me walk you through everything step by step, piece by piece, because you deserve the complete picture, not just the headlines. Let's begin with the big question that is probably already on your mind. What exactly did Congress pass? And why does it matter so much to seniors, to disabled Americans, and to the millions of people who have been depending on the government to deliver for them in 2026? The answer has several parts, and I want to make sure you understand each part clearly because each one has direct effects on your monthly income, your purchasing power, and your ability to plan your financial life with confidence going forward. The legislation that was passed represents one of the most significant updates to the Social Security system and related federal benefit programs in well over a decade. We are not talking about tiny tweaks or small revisions buried in a 1,000-page bill that nobody reads. We are talking about foundational changes, changes to how benefits are figured, changes to who qualifies for certain payments, changes to how cost of living adjustments are calculated, changes to how SSI recipients are treated under the law, and yes, provisions that relate directly to relief-style payments that are being directed specifically at low-income seniors and disabled Americans who were left out of earlier rounds of economic relief. Now, before we get into the exact numbers and the specific provisions, I want to give you a little context because I think it helps to understand why this happened and why it happened now. For years, and I mean many, many years, advocates for seniors and for people with disabilities have been raising concerns about the fact that Social Security benefits have not kept up with the real cost of living for the people who depend on them the most. The standard cost of living adjustment, the COLA, is tied to a measure of inflation that critics have long said does not accurately reflect how seniors actually spend their money. Seniors spend a disproportionately large portion of their income on healthcare, on prescription medications, on housing, and on food. And the prices for all of those things have risen much faster than the general inflation figures that the COLA formula is based on. At the same time, SSI Supplemental Security Income, which is the program that helps the lowest income seniors and disabled Americans, has been operating under benefit levels and eligibility rules that in some cases have not been meaningfully updated since the 1970s. The asset limits, the income rules, the marriage penalties, all of it has been frozen in place, while the cost of everything around it has soared. A senior on SSI in many states was receiving a monthly benefit that was not enough to cover even a basic room in a shared housing arrangement, let alone food, transportation, and healthcare on top of that. That is not a sustainable situation, and Congress finally acted to address it. So, what exactly did the new law change? Let me guide you through the major provisions one by one. Starting with Social Security retirement benefits, then SSDI, then SSI, and then the direct payments because each group is affected differently, and I want to make sure the information I am giving you is specific and relevant to your situation. For Social Security retirement beneficiaries, which means the people who paid into the system throughout their working lives and are now receiving their earned benefits. The most significant change involves the COLA calculation method. Starting in 2026, the adjustment is being tied to a different inflation index, one that is specifically intended to track the spending patterns of people over the age of 62. This index, which economists call the CPIE, the Consumer Price Index for the elderly, gives greater weight to healthcare and housing costs, which, as I mentioned, are the categories where seniors actually spend the most money. The practical result of this change is that the COLA for Social Security recipients in 2026 is higher than it would have been under the previous formula, and not just a little higher for many beneficiaries, especially those who have been receiving benefits for a long time and have seen their buying power steadily decline. The difference is meaningful. We are talking about additional dollars in your monthly check that, over the course of a year, can add up to a real improvement in your quality of life. There is also a provision in the new law that addresses what has historically been called the windfall elimination provision and the government pension offset. Two rules that have reduced Social Security benefits for millions of Americans who worked in certain government jobs or in jobs that did not withhold Social Security taxes. These provisions have been highly controversial for decades. Many people, teachers, firefighters, police officers, state and local government employees, spent years working in public service, then also worked in jobs covered by Social Security, only to discover their Social Security benefits were significantly reduced because of these rules. The new legislation modifies and, in some cases, removes these reductions, meaning that for a significant number of beneficiaries, monthly checks are going to rise. And in some cases, the increase is considerable. If this sounds like it could apply to you or someone in your family, please pay very close attention to this part because there may be additional money due to you and you may need to take action to make sure you receive it. Now, let's talk about SSDI, Social Security Disability Insurance. SSDI is the program that provides benefits to workers who become disabled before reaching full retirement age and who have paid enough Social Security taxes during their working years to qualify. The changes to SSDI under the new law are focused mainly on two areas: the definition of disability and the earnings rules that govern what beneficiaries can earn without losing their benefits. On the definition side, the new law directs the Social Security Administration to review and modernize the criteria used to evaluate disability claims with a specific focus on conditions that have historically been under-recognized or undervalued in the evaluation process. This includes certain mental health conditions, certain chronic pain conditions, certain autoimmune disorders, and conditions that are disabling but that may not have obvious physical signs that are easy to document in a medical record. For people who have been denied SSDI benefits because their condition did not fit neatly into the existing evaluation framework, this is an important development. It means that if you were previously denied and your condition falls into one of these categories, you may have reason to reapply and receive a more favorable review. On the earnings side, this is where the substantial gainful activity rules come in. The new law raises the threshold at which a disabled person's earnings trigger a review or a possible benefit reduction. This matters enormously for people who want to try to return to work in some capacity, but who have been afraid to do so because even modest earnings could put their SSDI benefits at risk. The new higher threshold gives disabled Americans more room to test their ability to work without immediately risking the safety net they depend on. That is a real quality of life improvement for millions of people. And it reflects a more humane understanding of what it means to live with a disability and to try to be as self-sufficient as possible within your limitations. Now let's get to SSI Supplemental Security Income. And I want to spend a little extra time here because the changes to SSI are frankly some of the most overdue and most significant in the entire package of legislation. SSI is the program for people who are 65 or older, blind or disabled, and who have very limited income and assets. It is not the same as Social Security retirement benefits or SSDI. You do not need a work history to qualify for SSI. It is a needs-based program, and it serves some of the most vulnerable people in our country. The asset limits under SSI have been stuck at $2,000 for an individual, and $3,000 for a couple since 1989. Let me just let that sink in for a moment. 1989, the year that the Berlin Wall came down. Since that year, the SSI asset limit has not changed, not $1. Meanwhile, the cost of everything from a used car to a month's rent to a medical emergency has increased by hundreds of percent. People on SSI have been trapped, unable to save money, unable to build any kind of financial cushion, unable to do nearly anything to improve their long-term financial stability without risking losing the benefits they need to survive. That is not a system that supports human dignity. That is a system that penalizes poverty, and it has needed to change for a very long time. Under the new law, the asset limits for SSI are being raised significantly. The specific new thresholds represent a dramatic increase from the 1989 levels, and they are also indexed going forward so that they rise with inflation, rather than being frozen in place until the next act of Congress. This means that for the first time in decades, SSI recipients will be able to save a little money, to build a small emergency fund, to set aside something for unexpected expenses, to have just a little financial breathing room without immediately losing their eligibility for the program. There are also changes to how certain types of income are treated under SSI, including changes to how wages from part-time work are counted, how gifts and family contributions are treated, and how the so-called in-kind support rules work. The in-kind support rules have long been a source of enormous confusion and frustration for SSI recipients. Because under the old rules, if a family member paid your rent, or bought you food, or helped you in almost any material way, those contributions could be counted as income and reduce your SSI payment dollar for dollar. The new law significantly updates these rules, making it easier for family members to provide support without unintentionally reducing the benefits of their loved ones. That is a genuinely important change for seniors who rely on their adult children or other family members for support, and it recognizes the reality of how low-income families actually function and support each other. Now let's talk about the direct payments, because I know that is what a lot of you have been waiting to hear about, and I do not want to keep you waiting any longer. Yes, the new law includes provisions for direct payments, relief-style checks targeted specifically at Social Security, SSI, and SSDI recipients who fall below certain income thresholds. These are not universal payments to everyone in the country the way the pandemic-era checks were. These are specifically designed as relief for seniors and disabled Americans who have been hit hardest by inflation, by rising healthcare costs, and by the inadequacy of benefit increases over recent years. The payment structure is tiered, meaning that the amount you receive depends on your income level, your benefit type, and your household situation. The lowest income recipients, primarily those on SSI, are in line to receive the highest payments, reflecting the recognition that this group has been most severely squeezed by the gap between benefit levels and real-world costs. Social Security retirement beneficiaries and SSDI recipients in the lower income brackets are also eligible for payments, though the amounts vary based on total income and whether you are single or married. Here is something critically important that I need you to hear clearly. For most recipients, these payments will be sent automatically based on the information already on file with the Social Security Administration. You will not need to complete a new application or prove your eligibility from the beginning. However, and this is a significant however, there are situations where you may need to take action. If your address on file with the Social Security Administration is outdated, if your direct deposit information has changed, if you have recently moved or changed banks, or if you have not filed a recent tax return and the SSA does not have current income information for you, you could miss your payment or experience a significant delay. And the window to update this information and ensure you are in the system correctly is not unlimited. Please take the time today, not next week, to verify that your information with the Social Security Administration is current and accurate. I also want to address a concern that I know is on the minds of many seniors watching this, and that is the issue of scams. Every time there is news about government payments or benefit changes, scammers appear in force. They send fake text messages, fake emails, fake letters that look official. They call seniors on the phone claiming to be from the Social Security Administration and saying that you need to provide your Social Security number, your bank account information, or some kind of payment in order to receive your benefit. Let me be absolutely clear. The real Social Security Administration will never call you and ask for your Social Security number. They will never ask for a fee to process your payment. They will never ask you to confirm your bank account information over the phone. If you receive any communication like that, hang up, delete it, and report it. The official way to check on your benefits, update your information, and verify any payments is through the official Social Security Administration website or by calling the SSA's official toll-free number directly. Do not click links in text messages. Do not call numbers from emails. Go directly to the official source. Now, I want to talk about something that goes beyond the specific provisions of this legislation, because I think it speaks to something larger about what this moment means for seniors and for disabled Americans in this country. For too long, the people who depend most on these federal programs have been treated as an afterthought in policy discussions. The political debate tends to focus on workers, on businesses, on the economy in broad terms, and the seniors and disabled Americans who are living on fixed incomes, who cannot go back to work to supplement their benefits when inflation reduces their purchasing power, who are one unexpected medical bill away from a genuine crisis. They have too often been overlooked in those conversations. This new legislation is not perfect. No legislation ever is. There are advocates who will tell you that the changes do not go far enough, that the SSI asset limit increases, while welcome, should be even higher, that the COLA reform, while an improvement, still leaves gaps, that the direct payments, while meaningful, do not fully make up for years of inadequate benefit growth. Those critiques are fair and worth taking seriously. But what this legislation represents is movement in the right direction, an acknowledgement by Congress that the status quo is not working for the most vulnerable people in our society, and that real action was required. For you sitting at home right now, the question is not whether the legislation is perfect. The question is what it means for your life, your finances, and your future. And the honest answer is that it means more money, more flexibility, more protection, and more opportunity to achieve a level of financial stability that the old rules made almost impossible for many people. So, what do you do with all of this information? Let me bring it home with very clear, practical steps. First, go to the official Social Security Administration website and log into your My Social Security account, or create one if you have not already. This is your single most important tool for staying on top of your benefits, verifying your payment information, checking for any notices or pending actions on your account, and confirming that your direct deposit or address information is current. Second, if you believe you may qualify for a higher benefit under the WEP or GPO changes, and that means you worked in a government job or a job not covered by Social Security, contact the SSA directly or speak with a Social Security benefits counselor to find out if you may be owed additional money and what steps you need to take. Third, if you are currently on SSI and have been keeping your savings below the old asset limits to protect your eligibility, you now have more room. Talk to a benefits counselor about how to use the new rules without unintentionally creating complications for your case. Fourth, watch for official notices from the Social Security Administration in your mail. Real information about your benefits will come through official SSA mail, not through social media, not through text messages, not through calls from strangers. And fifth, share this information, please. The seniors who are most at risk of missing out on what they may qualify for are the ones who are isolated, who are not online, who are not watching videos like this one. Call them, visit them, tell them what you learned today. This is your money. You earned it or you qualified for it through circumstances that were not your choice. Every dollar of it belongs to you, and you deserve to receive every single dollar without confusion, without delay, and without being taken advantage of by people who would exploit your uncertainty. I am going to keep bringing you this information as it develops, as the implementation details become clearer, and as new deadlines and requirements emerge. So make sure you are subscribed. Make sure you have notifications turned on, and make sure you hit that like button right now so that this video reaches the seniors who need it most. You deserve to be informed. You deserve to be protected, and you deserve every benefit that the law allows you to receive.